And what are the tech analysts predicting for Apple? Joining me now, TechCrunch reporter Colleen Howard and StockTwits chairman Howard Lindzon. And Howard, I want to get to you first because you can aggregate through sort of the real feel of your followers on StockTwits what people are expecting here for Apple. What are you seeing on StockTwits?
Hey, Liz, you look great.
Thank you. At the party, right? You know, I did feel comfortable with Bradley, but, you know, I mean, happily married lady, it's got to be.
He's been intimidated around me.
He was nervous about me. Oh, you too?
Yeah, me too. It's a guy thing. So on Apple, the stream has been very it's been a long time. The stream has been really bullish. So today does not make any other day. I think you just had she just mentioned the options volume is indicating a 3 to 4% move. Options traders usually are a great gauge for this. On StockTwits, we're talking about prosumers, heavy retail investors, and some institutions, and we've been bullish for a long time, and really bullish and correct. So I don't think today, in the scheme of things, means much. Our stream's been long. That call's been correct. Very hard to bet against Apple. My main indicator, Liz, and it's been like this for 8 years, has been the retail store. Mm-hmm. They have that Trojan horse, that American retail location that brings people in to try product.
Yeah, and Colleen, we've seen Microsoft and Samsung try and do that, Samsung with its mini stores and Best Buy, but tell us what you're expecting from Apple and sort of what's the number nobody's looking at that you will be scrutinizing?
I'm really looking, I think everyone's going to be looking at this, though. They're really going to be looking for some hints about the watch numbers, which I do expect that they'll probably talk about in the earnings call here, because I think that they probably have nothing to be ashamed of on that front by
okay, but
all
what are you looking for
the
phone units? The phone units, I'm seeing everything from 58 million to maybe even 70 million for iPhone sales.
Right, and even if it's on the lower end of that, even if we're at 58 million, I think that's a great number. It was only a year ago that the iPhone sales seemed to be slowing down, and everyone seemed to be saying that Apple had really kind of run its course with the iPhone product, and they needed something new and splashy. But I think that they really just doubled down on the iPhone. They didn't lower prices. They actually raised prices, and it seems like that was a good thing. They came out with bigger models, bigger storage. So I'm especially interested to see how they break out those iPhone 6 numbers. And if the iPhone 6 Plus and the higher storage models ended up selling really well here, I think that would really validate its strategy.
And Howard, last quarter they did 74.5 million phones.
Yeah, I'm trying not to think about, granularity. The average investor doesn't need to think about that. I mean, 99% investors don't need to think about it.
If they miss it?
If they miss it, yes. But there's so many levers that Apple can pull with respect to acquisitions. We haven't been talking about Apple potential acquisitions for a little while. So Apple's just got this bag of tricks that they rarely use that they can use. So, Apple's not thinking about quarter to quarter. But like you said, they miss a number. The stock is not cheap. The stock trading at a high multiple still. So, a 10% move is possible. I'm not thinking that's going to happen. I've been long the stock a very long time. But yeah, anything can happen around earnings.
Colleen, you watching iPad sales? Those have sort of declined. There hasn't been a revolutionary new iPad, just an evolutionary one.
I would be shocked if those numbers went up this time. You're right. They've kind of been in a decline for a number of quarters here. And I think a lot of that is because people are deciding instead to invest in the larger iPhone. It has a bigger screen. The iPhone 6 Plus you're kind of getting into phablet territory there. So if you're going to buy a tablet or an iPhone 6 Plus, I think people are going to buy that.
I started with the 6 Plus and I couldn't handle it. So I went down to the 6 and then I've got the iPad. But anymore, I am that person who had to give in with Apple, Howard. I have an iMac, and it's an Air, and it's small enough that it's good enough.
My wife just started using a laptop, an older one of mine, and I want to get her that new gold or black laptop. I think the laptops could surprise people. Apple's still very strong around laptops, and I think where we are disappointed around iPad sales, or the analyst community or Wall Street's disappointed around iPad sales, that laptop market is still a gigantic market. My kids use it. They're living in the Apple ecosystem. So I think what people don't, very hard to value for the analysts, is obviously the stores, the ecosystem, the fact that from 8 to 80, Apple's got a lockdown on an audience and products to sell them. And then you have the Genius Bars, which very few people talk about, very hard metric to break out. But that really engages that customer for a lifetime. And that's just something that Google, Samsung cannot do. Best Buy, it's an atrocity. So Apple stores, Apple ecosystem, 8 to 80. That's how investors that I want to teach people have to think about the numbers.
Colleen, look, the services that Howard just touched upon, I'm thinking anybody going to hang on every word about Apple Pay, or is it more iTunes and anything about Apple TV?
Yeah, I think we all kind of forgot about Apple TV with all this watch hubbub and the iPhone 6 numbers. And so I think there will be kind of incremental updates. I think there aren't going to be any big things there. I think another big thing will be on the dividend. I think that any sort of weakening in currency issues or other numbers could be made up if today Apple says they're going to increase their dividend by 15% or something. I think that investors will really like that, and that could be a good plus for Apple.
Those numbers come out go ahead, Howard, quickly.
And Liz, what I was going to say is you make a good point about Apple TV. We're not even talking about it, but as you see, Netflix gets better and better. The content keeps getting better and better, and we have 2 Apple TVs, and they're just hidden away. It's just another area where Apple's got seepage and ownage, and where they can continue to dominate as all these brands get into content making. So you bring up a good point.
Ownage. Did you make that up? I love it.
I make a lot. So I'm like I make stuff up. Why
okay,
not?
so your wife, you blew your surprise. You're going to probably get her a gold laptop from Apple. We shall see. And Colleen, always a pleasure to have you bring up. Hey, I almost forgot about Apple TV. Colleen Taylor, reporter for TechCrunch, and Howard Lindzon, StockTwits chairman. Howard, keep watching. I've got many more pictures of me with very important people at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, including
on Twitter. Let's go. We're one-upping each other on Twitter.
Okay, at Liz Claman. There you are. Good to see you both. Closing bell ringing in 37 minutes. So